Good evening. Good evening to the team that gets it clean. Welcome to Thursday Thoughts with Sharon Greene Golden, the view from my window. I want to say happy Nurses Week, happy Hospital Week, just happy week to everyone. So tonight, Thursday Thoughts, I was reading on one of the platforms about pill pack or paper plastic pouches and how you can process instrumentation. And the people were talking, and some people double pill pouch, and some people even are still putting, according to them, they're still putting pouches in their trays with their sharp instruments or little instruments. They're just doing all kinds of things. So I got to thinking that because on this medium that I was on, where people were writing, they were talking with so much authority about how it's okay to put pill packs in a tray, and how it's okay to double pill pack. And the reasons they had for doing those things was quite concerning to me, because your pill pouch, like your container or your wrapped instrument, is part of your surgical asepsis, which actually refers to a method of utilizing sterile equipment and supplies. And that means they are ones that have been treated, they've been processed, they've been sterilized. They've been in a process that says if the parameters of sterilization have been met and they were clean, then they're sterile. I listened or read how people even talked about how they process their pill packs, and some of them said, "Well, we put them we lay them in the basket, and we put them on top of the rack, and some of them had them in baskets on the bottom of the rack." And so we're all over the place. And I just got to thinking with my Thursday thought that we needed to just talk about this just a little bit. For those of you who are listening, put in the notes. Tell me what you're doing with your pill packs, and we're going to go ahead and get into the facts. We're going to go from the fake news to the true news about pill packs. So, um, AORN and Auntie Amy mirror each other, and they give you what is called recommended practice, or best practice. This is what you should do the best. And AORN has done what is called evidence-based practice, meaning they went out and did a lot of research and studies and came back after the research and studies and said, upon doing research and studies, this is what we found. So here on this particular page, you see where AORN, and you can go to, if you don't have one in your SPD, which you should, or you should have it on your computer, because you should be able to go back and forth between these two documents to get these answers. But I thought we'd bring up first AORN. So because everybody likes to say AORN, AORN. Okay, well, here's AORN. AORN says, do not use double pouching. I want everybody to, I didn't want to just say it. I wanted to read it. Get your AORN recommended practice books with the evidence-based information 2020, 2021, and go to, I think this is 6.4, 6.4.1, and read for yourself after this what it says. But it clearly states in English, do not use double pouching, such as placing the item in one pouch and then placing this pouch inside another. Makes it very clear. Unless the pouch manufacturer's IFU allows the practice. Now we talk about IFUs. And I'm here to tell you that with any surveyor, or no matter what company it is, what is going to keep you out of trouble is having the IFUs and knowing what they say. Now, the IFU of the pouch manufacturer, and you must still get the IFU of the manufacturer of the item that you're trying to double pouch. So listen, I'm old school. And for years, we did double pouching. And we did double pouching because we had gotten this thought in the sterile processing field that if we had something that was kind of heavy, if we took it and put it in one pouch and sealed it, and then put it in another pouch and sealed it, if it fell on the floor, you could pick it up, open the pouch, and keep moving because you still had it in a pouch. But as we became educated and learned, we realized that if something has an event and hits the floor, it is contaminated, whether it has a hole in it or not. You're not able to really tell if it has a real pinhole. You don't know what happened to that package. That's why all the little notes say this item is considered sterile unless it has had an event. So an event is falling off the shelf on the floor. An event is you dropping it on the way to the OR. An event is you catching it on the rack as you go by. That's an event. So that's what we did back in the old days. But then some people decided that, this was just a good way to have things. But if you're going to double pouch for any reason and your IFU backs you up for doing that, there is still a process for double pouching. You can't just go pouch to pouch. Now, what we have seen is that people take pouches, they put the instrument in the pouch that's too big, and then they fold the pouch, and then they place that pouch into another pouch and seal it. Now, do you really think that the steam is going to know that you folded it down the right side and then you fold it on the top and you put it inside another pouch, and so steam knows in the sterilizer, I've got to go down these creases? Do you really know that? And the answer is you don't know. So for those of you who say we have to double pouch, no, you do not have to double pouch. I will tell you that if you have something that is heavy, because people have told me, well, we're double pouching because the 3-pound mallet, it'll fall out one pouch, so we put it in two. Well, that means that you should not be putting that in a pouch. I would advise you to go and read the IFU and see what it says to do. If you're not putting it in a tray, then you should more likely be wrapping that item. It is too heavy for a paper plastic pouch. Think about those words. These are paper plastic pouches. They were not intended for heavy items. If you're weighing a slotted mallet and it weighs 5 pounds, it was never meant to go into a pouch. Well, Miss Golden, we put it in a pouch because the OR wants to be able to see it. SPD Nation, the team that gets it clean, take ownership for what you do. You are the specialist in the pouching, the packaging, the wrapping, and the sterilizing. Our OR team members are not. So you cannot allow them to tell you how to pouch or wrap the item. You're supposed to be reading the IFUs. I cannot say it enough. You work for the patient. The patient's dependent on you to know what it's supposed to be. I don't allow anybody to come in my SPD and tell me how to wrap anything. I say, bring the IFU or I will pull it up and look at it for myself. Because see, you cannot turn around when there's a problem and say, I didn't know. Somebody told me. Because see, you can never find somebody when you're in trouble. So you can't take somebody told me. You cannot use the word I didn't know, because ignorance is not a defense, people. And we've got to stop playing the victim on ignorance. I didn't know. That's what they told me when I got hit 20 years ago. Whereas 20 years later, and I need for you to read some IFUs. So IFUs will keep you safe. You are not supposed to double pouch unless, and there it is in writing. Now, for those of you who say, okay, Miss Golden, that's the AORN version, and I don't know why you pulling up AORN, because we're sterile processing. Well, go to your Auntie Amy ST79 2017, and after this commercial, we're going to talk about what our recommended practice book tells us about peel pouching double. Commercial. Thank you. Okay. So, um, we'll go and hit this real quick because I got a question. Someone emailed me, and I guess I'm doing the show, so they asked me this question. They said, Miss Golden, we're peel packing our Da Vinci handpieces, and I was just wondering if that was okay because they've been falling out or coming open at the end, and we just wanted to know if that's what we're supposed to do. So I actually went and got the intuitive Da Vinci IFU. IFU. And I knew the answer, but I wanted to put it up there so that you all know. If you go and get your intuitive Da Vinci IFU for cleaning, disinfecting, and sterilizing the handpiece, you will notice that it tells you that down under the part that says sterilization for endo-wrist instruments, it says that sterilization of instruments has been validated. So it tells you all of that. But then the next sentence says the devices should be wrapped using a central supply room wrap that has been FDA cleared for the sterilization parameters provided. We recommend the sterilization parameters below. So you're supposed to get a wrap that can go 4 minutes, a minimum exposure of 3 with a dry time of 20. Nowhere on there did it say put it in a pill pouch. So what I have a problem with, this is my Thursday thought, is if we are reading the IFU and the IFU says to wrap it, how do you get to a pill pouch? Now, what somebody told me one time was that, well, this is what my boss said do. Well, your boss is wrong. And at some point, because you work for the patient, you have to stand for what's right. Remember, when we talked about integrity, your integrity says you at least have to go get the instructions for use book and say, Miss Sharon, we're peel packing these hand pieces, but I was reading right here, and it says they should be wrapped. Now, I understand that I've been told that some managers are just dogmatic and they don't want to hear anything or see anything. I'm going to say this. If I'm on this show forever, you're going to always hear me say corporate compliance. If you have told your boss, and then at my hospital, we have a chain of command. So I'm first in the SPD. From me, you go to the director. From the director, you can go to the vice president. If it's a problem that could be hindering a patient, and if you are processing things outside the realm of the IFU, you are hindering the patient. The patient pays your salary, not your boss. You work for the patient, and what you do matters. So here you have it in black and white. In English, it says to wrap it, and your boss insists that you all peel pouch it. And as you peel pouch it, they always popping through and falling out. Well, then you all need to fix that. So you go to your boss and you say, "Here it is. This is what it says. What do you think about that, ma'am? What do you think?" And they say, "Well, I don't care what it says. We're here at this hospital. We're going to put it in pill pouches." The next thing you do is go see if there is a policy at your hospital that says that you pill pouch the hand pieces, even though the IFU said to wrap it. When you can't find that, you gather this information and you go and make an appointment to see the director. Or if you're not that bold, I don't want to know that I'm talking about this, Miss Golden, then you go to corporate compliance, which is anonymous. And you put in that you got an issue here, that you think you're doing something wrong because the IFU says to do it one way and you all have chosen to do it another way. But for the person that asked me that question, here your answer is right here. So don't go say Miss Golden said. I want you to say Intuitive's IFU says to wrap it. Because I'm Miss Golden, I'm in charge at my little hospital. I'm not in charge at yours. So you need to go with the facts from a written book. So this is straight from Intuitive, not from me, straight from Intuitive. It says to wrap them. Now, on the other side, I want to give you this little caveat. The hand pieces for the SI can only be processed 15 times. Can only be processed 15 times. Can only be processed 15 times. They can only go in the Da Vinci robot 10. But for those times that they open the handpiece and do not engage it in the robot, you have to be able to notate that you are processing it. So we happen to have a tracking system, and we have to put every serial number in our computer. This lines up with each handpiece, and we have a stop gap on it. So at cycle number 14, it will not let us run it ever again. It will not let us run it again. That's what we're doing at our hospital. So we know, because the surveyor may come in and see that you got pill pack hand pieces. They already got one question for you, and they may ask you the other important question: how many times do you process the hand pieces? How many times do you clean and put it through the steam sterilization cycle? And you have to know you can only do it 15. That's in the IFU. But it can be engaged in the robot 10 times. So if they engage it in the robot 10 times, on the 10th time, it will die and you won't get it back. But at my hospital, and I've been at several, they don't always use a opened handpiece. Sometimes they open it and the doctor changes their mind. Therefore, that handpiece gets reprocessed, but it was not engaged. So that's just something for you to look up on your IFU. So back to our, I don't have any questions yet. Back to our pill pouch information. Auntie Amy, our little book, and I didn't want you to think I was making it up. I do have my book here because I don't want to say anything that's wrong. On page 54, 9.5.4. Now, this is the book that guides the sterile processing field. It's our recommended best practice information. And they give you some information here. They said double packaging in paper plastic pouches should only be performed if the pouch manufacturer has validated the product for this use. So now you've got to go back to wherever you're getting your pill packs from and check out the IFU and see, does it say this is good for double pill packing? Then after you read this, that it says it's good for double pill packing, you've got to go to the IFU for the item that you're trying to double pill pack and see if it says it can be double pill packed. Now, I will tell you from years of experience that if you're packing 2 Alice clamps, you don't need to double. You don't need to double. If you're packing 2 hemostats, you don't need to double. Now, what you do need to make sure is that it is the right size pouch, that it's not too big and it's not too small. It's like Goldilocks and 3 Bears. It's got to be just right so the steam can get in and do its job and get out. So you have to be sure. If you're going to double pill pouch, it's not just a open and shut case. You've got to be sure you have the item in just right. You've got to be sure that the pouch that you're putting it into has room on the sides where they're not stuck up against the walls of the pouch. It's a lot of work. And so many years ago, I stopped the double pouching. There was really no need. It's standing up on edge wherever you have it stored, and you don't have it double pill pouch. Because if you double pill pouch, the other thing is you've got to have room to store these double pouches that you got coming on. You've got to be able to store this. So it tells you right there, and it's on page 54, that you also have to put it in without folding it. And I have here, I brought with me because someone sent me some information where they had a survey, and the surveyor went to other units. Listen, team that gets it clean, we are responsible for the product that we put out. So if you are sterilizing items for ED, CVIR, everywhere, you are responsible for your product. So what happened is the surveyor went down to, I'm going to tell you exactly, they did a tracer, And they traced, first of all, they traced in the OR and they observed that multiple instruments were in double pill packs that had the inner pill pack pouch folded over. And they wrote them up. They didn't make a big RFI at that time. This happened to have been Joint Commission, but they made a note. It bothered them enough that it went into the observation side. So they have the observation side, and then they have a form that they fill out. They put the standard, they put uh the EP text, whatever they want to tell you that you shouldn't be doing, then they put the observation. And in the afternoon, when they come back and they want to talk about what they found done wrong, they tell you that I was in this OR and this is what I found. So they found this the first time, and they wrote that down, and this is what they wrote. This was confirmed by the surgical services leadership team member. That means that the person they talked to when they said, you all double pouch your instruments, oh yes, 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 and this is how you do it, it's folded over, and the team member said, yes, this is how we do it, proudly. But remember, when we read the information from AORN and from Nancy Amy, it said no. Well, then the surveyors went on and they did a tracer in another area. They went down to the emergency room, and this is what they wrote. In one of 10 pill packs viewed in the emergency department, it was observed that the internal pill pack was folded over. This was observed by the ER management leadership. So now they went to another area and they said to the ER team, hey, this is how you all get these pill packs and you store them like this. And they said, yes, everybody's happy. They were feeling good about their survey. And so they wrote it up again. They observed it some more. What I want to tell you is you have to know the rules of engagement to play the game. And the only way you can do any survey and really know what you're doing is to stay abreast of the rules and regulations. The IFU didn't tell you to put it in a pouch and fold it over. The standards, best practice standards, and the AORN evidence-based standards said don't double pouch unless you can turn around to the survey and say, for this particular instrument, here's the IFU, and it says we can double pouch. But none of the IFUs are going to tell you to fold it. None of the IFUs are going to tell you to fold the pouch. I can tell you that. None of them. So if you've got them folded, you're going to be in trouble. And then in the processing of your actual pouches, your pouches have to stand on edge. They have to stand on edge. You cannot lay them down in a basket. How can you assure that the steam actually sterilized the one in the middle and the one on the bottom? You cannot. You need to stand it on edge. So as I was having my Thursday thoughts, this is what I was thinking about. We can't fix everything. Rome was not built in a day. So you have to go slow. We take one little standard and work with that and let that, as we would say, marinate in your spirit. That Miss Golden said, hey, this is what you do for pill packs. Pill packs should not be doubled unless the pill pack company told you you could do it. And the company that you're getting the instruments from said it's okay. And if you do double pill pack, you cannot fold the edges over to make it fit. There's a question that says, what do you do if all bosses and infection control says you have to skip decon and go to the one tray if the tray has a hole in it, the room with no patient? So, so what you're saying is that they had a hole in the tray. They need the tray for the case. And what they said is, we're going to process it into one tray. And we're not going to go to decon because there was no patient in the room. When we were opening up the case, we noticed the hole. We came back aseptically back to the SPD with the tray for you all to process in the one tray. What I will tell you is that you need to know if that is a policy. Is that does the policy? You need to ask to see the policy for yourself. Now, if your policy at your hospital, which they can write any policy they want. If their policy says if a tray is opened in a room with no patient and it has a hole, we can take it back to SPD and process it in the one tray without going and having it completely cleaned again, then yes, you can do that. But the policy has to state it just like that. Because if you're caught doing it and your policy does not back you up, you will more than likely get an RFI on a survey. Or I don't know if it's RFIs for DMV, but you will get written up. So the policy has to back you up. Now, what the surveyor can come in and say is, I don't think that's a good practice. But they will not be able to write you all up because when they read your policy, it says, this is what we do here. And so they will write it won't be an RFI. They will write a different kind of rep that says it was suggested that you all look into this closer and not do that particular process. That's if that's what the surveyor wants to tell you. So it's all about what your policy says, and understand it was opened in the room without a patient. So they were open in the room. They noticed they had a hole, and so they brought it back to you all on the clean side for you to then reprocess it in the one tray. If that is your policy, then that is what you can do. But I can tell you that our policy, and according to best practice, recommended practice, is that we clean everything. I'm sorry that's going to delay the case. I'm sorry. That's why you should never have one of anything. You should have more than one so that you could go back and clean that one and put another one in the room and keep doing the case. I understand that they don't like to have delays. They never do. But remember, we work for the patient, and we want to do best practice for the patient. So you're supposed to take it back to decon. Now, I'm an advocate of that because as they were bringing it back to SPD, they could have walked by somebody that was coughing. They could have had dust falling from the ceiling. You don't know what happened to that tray as it came back. That is why you want to clean it. Understand that we cannot sterilize anything that is not clean. And yes, it could have gotten contaminated as you came back by. So best practice for me is that you put it back through decon. And understand, you cannot clean fast. So you can't go in there and do a little swish swish and then throw it through the window and say, hey, let's put it in the one tray. When you do something, think about if you were the patient. Is this what you would like to know we were doing back in the back room? And if you say, I don't want this on my case, then don't do it on anybody else's case. You've got to clean it. You've got to. Because we don't know. And understand, when we process items, when we sterilize items, the parameters of sterilization say they have been met. We do not know that it is sterile. We only know that if it was clean, if it was put together the way it's supposed to, if it was set up correctly, then we can say it should be sterile. But you cannot stand up and say, I know my trays are sterile, because you don't unless you take them to a lab and have them tested. And if you take the tray to the lab and have it tested, you can't do your case. So I had this talk with a few doctors, very prominent doctors, Dr. William Ritalia, one of the best doctors in our field that writes a lot of books. And we were at a meeting together, and they all day long, they kept saying the items are sterile, the items are sterile. And I finally said to the doctors in the room, I can't let you all say that anymore today. The items are not sterile. We can only say that the parameters of sterilization were met. We don't know if it's sterile or not. But we can tell you that my strip says it should be sterile. I do every load monitoring, so I can tell you that my BI says it should be sterile. But I didn't open it up and test it, and the lab can't send me back a report quick enough for us to do the case. So we can only say the parameters of sterilization were met. And because of that, I want my items re-cleaned before you put it in that one tray. That's it in a nutshell. So I see that we're at 8:33, and I don't want to overstay my welcome with you all. Um, I just have that Thursday thought. I thank you all for joining me tonight. Um, I will look and see if there's any more particular questions. Uh, Looks like we did pretty good. Looks like everybody seems to be pretty straight for tonight. So I thank you all for coming and spending this time with me as I gave you the view from my window. Thursday Thoughts with Sharon Greene Golden. See you next week. Be blessed.